Hello, everybody. Welcome to this video where I'm going to be talking about a couple of no bullshit guide. It's a type of list I've made with a couple of notions or ideas. And the first one, let's jump right into it. No bullshit is the importance of writing out your objectives for whatever life stage you are currently in your life. I'm pretty sure that we can say that at any life stage, you have goals, you have things you want, or places you want to get to, you have objectives. So, the important thing about writing out your objective is to physically, literally write it out. So, you can put it in your phone, on a notebook, and you must look at it every once in a while to kind of even in moments when you're not feeling all that great. Of course, you can look at it when you're feeling great, but when you're not feeling all that great, it kind of reminds you of why you're doing what you're doing, right? And you're like, oh yeah, I have that to look forward to, right? So a couple of things with writing out clear objectives. The first one is you must use a verb in infinitive. So infinitive means to use to. So you can say, my objective is to become, and then after the verb in infinitive, to do this, to have this, you must have the nouns or the noun clause. So to become, you could say a teacher in the humanities department, right? And very important, after you have the verb, you have the nouns, the what's, you must put for what, right? That's something that a lot of times regular objectives omit. They omit the what for what, right? What is the purpose of this, right? And you can kind of look at it as like the objective of the objective, or like the true objective, or the objective behind the objective. But you can also look at it in terms of justification, right? Like if we think about objective maybe as being in the future, like this is my goal, I want to become a better teacher. And then you can say what for, right? Like in Spanish, para qué. That like thrusts you further into the future, right? It's different than a justification, even though I just mentioned justification. When you justify things, you and see, you can also say what for as in the past, right? Because I have this need, because I lack this, or I want this, right? Which I don't have or I haven't had in the past. Um, Either way, the objective is going to be, for example, to become a teacher in the humanities department, um, to find stability, or to find work stability, right? So you can add in another two, basically. So to do this, right? And that's like thinking of the second two, or that second part of the objective is hard, because sometimes you may say, well, I want money. Okay, you want to have more money. What for? I want to have more money to buy a house, right? And that's a clearer objective, right? So it's clear, it's cleaner, it's fresher. You can relate to it better, so you're able to maybe think about it. And an objective is kind of like an anchor. It works to help you like stay there. So another important thing that you need to consider when you are planning objectives is that once you get to your objective, once you reach that goal, you shouldn't push further at that moment, right? So you reach the objective and you see that you can go further, don't. That's a trap, right? So as soon as you get to the objective, because usually an objective requires you to stay there, to learn and to improve in whatever it is that you are at right now, or at that moment. Let me give you an example. So you say, I want to have a good job to have more money. Okay, let's say you get the good job, and then you're feeling awesome, fantastic. You feel like you can go further. You go further, you crash, you burn. Why? Because you needed to stay in that moment, right? And basically learn how to stay there. So let's say you're a worker, and then you get ascended to supervisor. but then you think you can become boss. So you push for boss and you get fired, right? Because you're way in over your head. So as soon as you get, for example, promoted from worker to manager, learn how to be a manager first, right? Make sure you stay there. So it's like it's not only getting to the top, it's learning how to stay at the top, right? I think we all know that phrase. For example, in my case right now, I'm kind of at the process stage. So once you reach your objective, you enter what I call the process stage, which is learning the process, learning the new process. So before you can even think of new goals, you first need to learn everything there is to know about that area. Think of it as like being in that bullseye, being in that objective physically, and you need to move around it. You need to learn everything you need to regarding that area, right? Okay, a couple other things that I feel, I think we all have these ideas, and I kind of wanted to share mine, like lists or things that I think should be taught at schools that aren't taught at schools. Like, for example, one of them, and just this weekend, I was talking with some students about this, and I feel like they don't teach this stuff. So unfortunately, you learn it through trial and error. You make mistakes, you make blunders, you embarrass yourself. But like very specifically, tipping gas station attendees. Like in Mexico, you have gas station attendees that pump your gas, that give your tires air or whatever. So when that happens, you need to give them some sort of change, right? And here's the tricky part, because you don't know how much, right? It's like tipping in restaurants in other countries. Like in Japan, you're not allowed to tip, especially if it's a waitress, because I think that's like implying that they're like sexual workers or something like that. Whereas in other countries, I think in the UK is up to like 20% tip. In other countries like the US or Mex, I think that it's like 10 to 15%. So it varies, right? And nobody teaches you this. So it's like, how much am I supposed to tip? Like, look, there are different scenarios when you go to pump gas. You can either just get gas and you gotta leave like a 5 peso tip. If you get gas but also air, you should leave like a 10 peso tip. If you get gas, air, and they clean your windshields, right? Like the front mirrors, the back mirrors in your car, and maybe even the sides, you should give like a little extra, like maybe 10, 15. Um, what if you only get your windshields, your mirrors clean, and you don't get gas, or you get air, or you get, or you only get gas and your windshields? Like, how much must you leave then, right? So all of these tricky things should be taught. Other places or other areas in life where you also have to tip are deliveries, like when someone brings you food, especially now with like Uber Eats or Didi, things like that. You should give them like a 5 peso tip, for example, in Mex. So let me know in your country how much you gotta give people that deliver food or gas station attendees if you have them. Another one is how to make a curriculum vitae or a CV, how to make your resume, right? Your professional resume. So in broad strokes, it's basically like your general information, your address, your telephone number, your name, a picture of yourself, basically your background, professionally, your work experience, as well as school experience, but also if you've taken any courses that help your candidacy or your potential to become a candidate at some company or wherever you're applying for. References, right, with the names of the people, but also contact information, like maybe an email. I usually write an email, and what their profession is, right? So if you put like this number, this person, maybe engineer, right? Like what their profession is, should also go on there. And maybe just a little, like they say it should be just one page and it should have everything in it. And you should maybe write a little bit about yourself, right? Like about your goal or what your general skills are, right? So I think that's also very useful to know and to do, like in schools. Also, the use of ChatGPT or artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, I feel like it's super demonized nowadays, but it does have a very useful side to it. You just got to know how to use it. And how do you use it? You need to go back and forth with ChatGPT, for example, or with AI. I use ChatGPT, so I'll be saying ChatGPT. But what I basically do, like for instance, with this, with the CV, you can at first just give a very broad general idea, like ChatGPT, I need to make a CV. I'm this type of teacher. I have these type of skills and experience. Go, and ChatGPT will give you like, a whole format already made. What you need to do is go through that format and edit it, right? And then maybe you'll go back to ChatGPT a second time and say, okay, I've made these changes, in the same chat. Now, can you fix this and make it sound more like me or something like that, right? Like right now, I was just listening or hearing that you can ask ChatGPT to give you like a wrap up of your year of like the most frequent words that you used, things like that. So I feel like that's pretty interesting. So basically, and maybe even go a third time with ChatGPT on that. So this back and forth is ultimately what's gonna really make you sharpen your knowledge, your skills, your formats. So I feel like that also should be taught, because the way that, for instance, students are using ChatGPT or AI now is that they will like ask for one thing, copy and paste that as is, right? They won't verify it, they won't proofread it, they won't check it, they won't go back and forth. So the key for me with AI and ChatGPT is to go back and forth with these artificial intelligences or artificial general intelligences, which they call them AGIs or something like that. How to budget. Now, budgeting, we all know, is a big one, taxes as well. How to divide up your money, how to destine this money for certain stuff or certain things. Sure, why not? Invest. I don't know too much about that, but sure, why not? But I think that the main thing, the no bullshit thing, is know that if you go out, you will probably spend money. And the key is not to spend money. That's bottom line, no bullshit. That's what you need to do, not spend. So the way to do this is, for instance, I recommend take a water bottle wherever you go. So if you're like, all right, I'm just going to take a walk around the neighborhood or downtown or whatever, you're probably going to end up getting thirsty, and then you're going to end up buying water or a water bottle or a drink or whatever. So just carry your water bottle with you so you don't have to do that. Also, another thing is like food, right? Snacks are a big thing, or food. Just grab a bite to eat or whatever. No, like do that at home. Make sure you maybe go for a walk, or if you're going out, go after you eat, so you don't get tempted to waste money. Again, the big thing here is not to waste money when you're out, because going out typically makes you waste money. Even just thinking about transportation, right? You get on the bus, you spend money. You take an Uber, you spend money. You drive around or ride around, you're wasting gas, right? Unless you got a bike. But yeah, so the thing there is not to spend money. And then as far as like shopping goes, don't even look or scan or window shop or do any of that stuff, because you're probably just going to be, again, tempted to waste money. um, Sales are aggressive is another big one. So I think everybody wants to have their own business, but I think in order to become a business person, you need to be aggressive. And I think that's the no bullshit guide to sales. What I mean by being aggressive is you won't take no for an answer. You won't feel guilty about basically coercing or making the other person buy whatever it is you're selling, and you're not going to feel ashamed afterwards, or think or reflect or feel bad, or just because I've like I'm horrible at sales, and I think it's because I have too much empathy with people, or I feel for them, so I would feel bad, right? Like making you buy something that you don't want, that I can see and I can tell you don't want. We can even say, like, I don't know, salespeople may even have like a certain level of sociopathy, right? Where it's like, I don't even care what you're thinking or feeling, and I guess this is where salespeople get insistent, right? Because it doesn't really matter what technique you're using. At the end of the day, the no bullshit technique is just you're being aggressive, relentless, and you're just making sure that that person buys whatever it is you're selling, right? So yeah, sales are aggressive. It's an aggressive profession. Um, and I think you really got to have like the personality to do that, right? If you don't have that personality, if you care about what other people think about you, if you feel bad for other people, then you're probably not going to be a good salesperson because you need to be aggressive. Okay, two more. Another one is charisma and charm are when you feel you won't be there for long and you feel safe. So when you feel you won't be there for long, you feel detached and untense. And basically, you don't have expectations. You're not working towards anything. So that chill, cool, really laid back, truly attitude is what makes you come off as truly charming and charismatic. So what I mean by that is like, let me give you two concrete examples. There's a movie with Jack Nicholson called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I just watched it for the first time this weekend. And in it, he's so charismatic. He's so charming. He's so chill because throughout the whole movie, he's constantly looking for a way out of there. He knows he's not going to be there long. And spoilers, if you don't want spoilers, stop the video, come back after you watch the movie. But okay, spoiler, he dies at the end. So either way, he doesn't really stay there long, right? Like he tries to escape at certain points in the movie. Um, so his pattern of behavior is basically like, I'm not here for long. I'm just here for a good time, right? As the saying goes, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. Um, so charisma and charm are really hard to keep up permanently or for a long time, persistently through time, especially when you're in the same area with the same people, because eventually the people are going to get tired of you. They're going to get annoyed by you. I mean, that just happens naturally, even if just you're a laid back person or not charming laid back, but if you're just like a person that's like, quiet and whatever, eventually you get on people's nerves because they see you every day because it's like, so that's one characteristic. And another characteristic is you feel safe. So you feel like, and that's kind of paradoxical because you can say, well, how could you feel safe and familiar, therefore, in a place where you're not going to be there for a long time? Well, you basically feel safe because you've been feeling safe. You feel safe going from one place to another, right? Like imagine someone going from one house to another, from one city to another, and you feel safe in that whole country, let's say, in that whole state, in that whole area. So you feel safe with yourself. You're in touch with yourself, in tune with yourself. You're congruent with yourself, and you won't be there long, right? Let me give you another example. Tupac Shakur, right? Like a lot of people say he was very charismatic. He was a very charismatic person, very charming. And I also feel it's the same thing with him. Like he knew he wasn't going to be here long. He was just really making the best of it. Most of us get resentful, bitter, nasty as time goes by because we keep living this life year after year, right? So there's nothing to be happy or charmed or charismatic about, right? Because we're here, we're stuck where we're at. So that's also another consideration. And finally, branding, the importance of branding. I was watching the P. Diddy Reckoning documentary, and also I rewatched the Tupac Resurrection movie from 2003 that talks about Tupac's life. And I couldn't help but think at my age that there was like major branding behind everything, right? The way that the public perception was influenced and manipulated, and even the whole East Coast West Coast thing. It's like, if it wasn't manufactured, like damn, it's some Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola type of ordeal there because um again, the public image, the attention that it still gets, even today, it's decades in the making. They say it's not only like a typical, like a regular brand thing. It was like a cultural shapeshifter, or like earthquake magnitude change. I forget the expression, but yeah, it was big. It's still big. So branding basically comes down to a more no bullshit guide, practical sense of things, because we're trying to talk about practical things here. It comes down basically to who people think you are, right? How you're perceived. That's why it's very important to always, carry yourself a certain way with people, because they're going to be watching you. They're always watching you. People are always watching you and criticizing you, especially at like work, and these type of places that you're in a lot, these people that you're with a lot, right? That's why, again, being charming and charismatic for years is super hard. Who's going to do that, right? You're going to have your off days, you're going to have your off moments in life, whatever your off stages. So branding in this case, it's very interesting because, again, that Tupac, Biggie, P Diddy, Suge Knight ordeal, like, um, it's like it was like a branding machine, right? Like, they talk about how Suge Knight and P Diddy were friends even before the beef, and it wouldn't surprise me if some way they manufacture all that stuff too. Like, I know it's really hard because I think one of Suge Knight's friends got killed, so I'm pretty sure all that stuff really did happen, but I'm still saying, like, damn, like that's some cultural impact, like deep stuff. So um when it comes to you, you're talking about your person and your reputation, and I want to look into this deeper because I know it takes work. It takes pre-thought or forethought. So you need to think about what you want to do, what you want to achieve, how you want people to perceive you, how you want to stage things up so that they happen in a certain way, kind of like putting up domino pieces up a certain way so they knock each other down in a certain way, and you get certain effects and results from the people, from the public, right? So anyway, I thought I'd talk about those type of stuff in this no bullshit guide video. If I come up with any more ideas, I'll let you guys know. But for now, that's all I got. So I'll see you in the next one. Okay, peace.